Welcome to the deep dive. Our whole mission here is taking these really foundational, sometimes complex sources and just boiling them down for you, giving you the absolute core of what matters.
That's the goal.
And today, we're getting into what is, frankly, the undisputed foundation of rational investing. We're looking at excerpts from Benjamin Graham's 1949 classic, The Intelligent Investor.
Oh, yeah. You really can't overstate this one. People call it the Bible of value investing for a reason. I mean, think about it. Graham mentored Warren Buffett.
Right. Buffett himself points to these principles as key to his own success. That tells you something.
It tells you we're dealing with some seriously timeless wisdom here, stuff that just works decade after decade.
Exactly. So our aim today is to pull out those crucial ideas Graham developed specifically for the ordinary investor, for you, things that teach, disciplined, rational decision-making.
It's not about get-rich-quick schemes. Not at all.
No, it's about protecting yourself from making big mistakes and building wealth steadily, safely over the long haul.
And what's really striking is how relevant it still is. Graham wrote this, 75 years ago. But the main challenges he identified.
Like controlling your emotions, resisting the market frenzy.
Precisely. They're maybe even more critical now. With instant trading, nonstop news cycles, social media hype, it all comes back to his core ideas. Think long-term, understand what something is truly worth, its intrinsic value.
Okay, let's dive right in with Graham's absolute starting point. He draws this really sharp line between investing and speculating.
Yes, this distinction is fundamental. It's the bedrock. And honestly, it's where he says most people trip up right out of the gate.
So how did he define investing?
For Graham, true investment is an operation based on thorough analysis. That's key. It has to promise safety of principle.
Meaning you shouldn't lose your initial money.
Right. Safety first. And it has to offer an adequate return. Not necessarily a spectacular one, but adequate. It's analytical, it's businesslike, it's, defensive in nature.
And if it doesn't meet all those criteria,
then by his definition, you are speculating. Simple as that.
and speculating, he basically dismissed as, what, just gambling.
Pretty much. He saw it as buying based on, rumors, market hype, maybe a chart pattern, thinking the price will go up just because others are buying.
It's betting on where the price might be next week, not on the actual business's health over the next 10 years.
Exactly. And here's Graham's first big wake-up call for you listening. He insisted that tons of people in the market think they're investing.
They genuinely believe it.
Right. But their actions are to see. The lack of deep homework, chasing quick profits, taking on way too much risk. It proves they're actually just speculating.
What's the psychology there, though? How do people fool themselves like that? Is it just skimming a headline and calling it research?
Well, yeah, that's part of it. It's often a mix of self-deception and just being active in the market. People confuse doing something with doing the right analysis.
Activity versus analysis.
Yeah. Like say you buy a stock because the price chart looks hot, right? Then you quickly find some news article that sort of justifies it after the fact.
You backfill the reason.
Exactly. You skip the hard part, digging into the balance sheet, understanding the competition, judging the management. Real analysis is work. The speculator just substitutes hope, or maybe adrenaline, for that diligence.
Okay, that leads us perfectly into maybe Graham's most famous contribution, that brilliant metaphor, Mr. Market.
Oh, Mr. Market, yes. He basically personified the stock market's daily volatility. Imagine the market as this business partner you have.
Who shows up every single day.
Every day, offering to either buy your share of the business or sell you his share. But the catch is, he's completely manic depressive.
His mood swings are wild.
Totally. Some days he's incredibly optimistic, sees nothing but blue skies ahead, and offers you ridiculously high prices for your stake.
Way more than it's actually worth based on the business.
Right. Then other days, maybe after some bad news, he's utterly terrified, panicked. He's willing to dump his shares on you at absurdly low prices. Prices that make 0 sense, given the company's real value.
He's the embodiment of market emotion, fear, and greed.
Exactly. And the lesson Graham gives us is, it sounds simple, but it's incredibly hard to actually do.
Which is?
Treat Mr. Market like a servant, never your guide. You take advantage of his mood swings, you absolutely do not let his mood dictate your actions.
So when he's manic and offering crazy high prices?
You consider selling to him.
And when he's depressed and practically giving shares away?
That's when you step up and buy from him. It's the classic, buy when others are fearful, sell when others are greedy.
It sounds so logical when you put it like that. But, look around. People mostly do the exact opposite, right? They pile in when things are hot and panic sell when things crash. Why is it so hard to resist?
Ah, well, because fear and greed are incredibly powerful emotions. That fear of missing out FOMO, it's intense when prices are rocketing up.
Mm-hmm.
And the panic when everything's collapsing, it feels overwhelming.
It feels like you have to act.
Precisely. And Graham saw this clearly. He said, and this is probably one of his most quoted lines, the investor's chief problem, and even his worst enemy, is likely to be himself.
Wow. So it's not the market, it's us.
The market just provides the playing field, the opportunities. It's our own emotional reactions, our tendency towards fear and greed that messes things up. Discipline is the name of the game.
Okay, so if the real battle is internal, emotional, how do we fight back with logic? What are the concrete analytical tools Graham provides to anchor us, to stay rational?
Right. That brings us straight to the idea of intrinsic value. This is absolutely central.
The true worth.
Yes. Graham demands that you figure out a rational estimate of the true underlying worth, the intrinsic value for any asset you're thinking of buying. This isn't the market price. It's based on facts.
Like what kind of facts?
Things you can actually measure or reasonably estimate.
Yeah.
A company's earnings power, its dividends, the quality of its assets, its realistic growth prospects. The market price jumps around constantly, but the intrinsic value is more stable.
Okay, but let me push back on that a little. Graham wrote this in 1949. Today's economy, especially with tech companies, has so much value tied up in intangibles, right? Like brand, network effects, future growth potential. Does calculating intrinsic value based only on hard assets and current earnings still work for, say, a fast-growing software company?
That's a really fair question.
Yeah.
And yeah, modern value investing has definitely had to adapt. Graham himself was very focused on tangible, measurable assets, things you could touch and count.
Right.
But the principle remains exactly the same. Market price is just what someone is quoting today. Value is what the business is fundamentally worth based on its ability to generate cash over time. Whether you're valuing a railroad from the 40s or a cloud computing company today, the core task is the same.
You still have to do the analytical work.
You have to do the work. You need to project future cash flows, assess the durability of its competitive advantage, whatever the key value drivers are. You establish a value based on your analysis, not the market's mood. The method might evolve, but the need for independent valuation, that's timeless. The calculation isn't always easy, but it's absolutely necessary.
Got it. And the rule that flows from finding the intrinsic value is?
Simple. The intelligent investor only buys when the price is significantly below the estimated intrinsic value.
Which leads directly to his other cornerstone idea, the margin of safety.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Possibly his most important principle overall, the margin of safety. It's your built-in protection.
Protection against what? Being wrong.
Exactly. It's buying a security at a big enough discount to its intrinsic value
Yeah.
that you create a cushion, a buffer zone.
A margin for error.
Precisely. It protects you if the economy takes an unexpected downturn, or maybe your own analysis was a little too optimistic, or just, bad luck happens. It's a structural defense.
It sounds like it comes from a place of humility, almost. Acknowledging you can't predict the future perfectly.
That's a great way to put it. It ensures that safety of principle we talked about earlier. So, for example, if you do your homework and conservatively estimate a stock's intrinsic value is, say, $100.
You don't buy it at 95 or even 85.
Nope. An intelligent investor using a margin of safety might say, I'm only interested if this stock trades down to $60 or maybe $70.
So that $30 or $40 gap, that's the margin of safety.
That's it. And it does two things. One, it limits your potential loss if things go sour or you overestimated the value. Two, it gives you much greater potential for profit when Mr. Market eventually wakes up and realizes the stock is actually worth closer to 100.
Graham really hammered this point home, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. He even used to look for companies trading for less than their net working capital, basically. Situations where the cash and receivables, minus all debt, were worth more than the stock price.
Meaning you could theoretically liquidate the company and make a profit?
Yeah, that's the ultimate margin of safety. Your success depends on the value you bought, not on market sentiment changing.
Okay, so we have these powerful tools, intrinsic value, margin of safety. But before even using them, Graham said you need to figure out what kind of investor you are.
Right. The know thyself part. He divides investors into two main types, the defensive investor and the enterprising investor.
Why is that self-assessment so critical?
Because the right strategy for you depends heavily on your time, your temperament, your interest level, and, frankly, your expertise. The approaches are really different.
So describe the defensive investor first.
The defensive investor, their main goal is avoiding serious mistakes or losses. They want safety and freedom from worry. They typically don't have a ton of time or inclination to do deep research on individual stocks. Simplicity is key.
So how do they apply a margin of safety if they're not calculating intrinsic value for specific stocks?
Their margin of safety is more about diversification and quality. They might achieve it by buying, say, a broad market index fund.
Spreading the risk very widely.
Exactly. Or maybe focusing only on large, established, financially sound companies, what Graham called blue chip stocks, companies with long histories of profitability and paying dividends. Their safety comes from the durability of these businesses and diversification, not from finding statistical bargains.
Okay, then the flip side is the enterprising investor.
Right. This is the investor who is willing and able to put in the substantial effort required to achieve potentially better than average returns. They're actively managing their portfolio.
And they are the ones applying that quantitative margin of safety we talked about.
Yes, they're the ones doing the deep dives, the calculations, hunting for those specific situations where a stock is clearly selling for much less than its calculated intrinsic value.
Looking for those hidden gems or turnaround stories.
Could be. Maybe stocks are neglected by the market or complex situations others avoid. But Graham was very clear. This path requires serious skill, discipline, and a near-professional level of dedication.
And if you try it without that commitment,
You're almost certainly just going to slide back into speculating, probably without even realizing it, and likely lose money.
it really sounds like you need to pick a lane and stick to it. Trying to be a defensive investor most of the time, but then suddenly chasing some hot speculative stock, that seems dangerous.
Absolutely. Consistency is vital. Graham stressed that. Your methods have to match your capabilities and your temperament. If you choose the defensive route, you accept average market returns with high safety. If you choose the enterprising path, you must commit the time and effort needed for that deeper analysis. You can't mix and match carelessly.
Bringing this all together, you really can't talk about Graham without mentioning Buffett's endorsement. It's like the ultimate proof of concept.
It really is. Buffett has consistently called The Intelligent Investor by far the best book on investing ever written. He didn't just read it, he internalized it. It shaped his entire approach.
Did he ever single out specific parts?
He did. He famously said that chapters 8 and 20 basically changed his life. Chapter 8 is the one all about Mr. Market, how to think about and react to market fluctuations.
Using volatility to your advantage.
Right. And chapter 20 is the definitive guide to the margin of safety concept. Those two ideas right there are the absolute cornerstones of Buffett's success, learned directly from Graham.
So let's try to synthesize this for everyone listening. If we boil down Graham's core message, what are the absolute must-remember tenets? Number one seems to be, know the difference between investing and speculating.
Definitely. Never speculate when you think you're investing. Always base decisions on analysis, not on emotion or market noise.
Number two, always demand a margin of safety.
Yep, buy assets for significantly less than you think they're worth. Build in that cushion against error and bad luck.
And number three, master your own emotions.
Crucial. Recognize that Mr. Market is driven by fear and greed. Your job is to remain rational, objective, even detached, especially when everyone else is panicking or getting euphoric.
The goal isn't really about beating everyone else, is it?
Not primarily. Graham framed it more as achieving your own realistic objective through sound principles and self-control. It's about winning your own game, defined rationally. This book is fundamentally a manual for protecting yourself and building wealth slowly, patiently, logically.
Yeah, it really emphasizes that long-term perspective. If your analysis is solid, if you bought with a margin of safety, then the day-to-day, even year-to-year bounces of Mr. Market are just noise.
Exactly. Wealth is built over decades, not days or months. Patience is key.
Okay, so as we wrap up, let's leave you with a final thought, circling back to that powerful insight from Graham. The investor's chief problem, and even his worst enemy, is likely to be himself.
It's a tough pill to swallow, but so true.
So we invite you to really reflect on your own behavior around money and investments. How often, honestly, are your decisions driven by seeing a price move quickly, that FOMO or maybe panic, versus doing the patient, sometimes tedious work of understanding the fundamental value?
Are you reacting to Mr. Market's moods, or are you calmly assessing the underlying business reality?
If you can start to prioritize that disciplined, value-based approach and cultivate the patience to wait for the right price, you're well on your way to internalizing the most important lesson Benjamin Graham ever taught.